Threes and sevens. Yeah, anybody who knows the Bible, even moderately, would recognize those keep showing up. Why is that? I get that conversation from people. The people that don't know it shows up all the time are people who haven't really read it or read many stories. Okay, there's a reason for the threes and sevens. I want to forewarn everybody, I'm going to approach this completely as a scholar. There is not one brain cell in my head that believes in anything supernatural. If there was, I would call it faith and leave it at that. What I'm doing here with the Bible is finding a template, a common template from antiquity that shows up everywhere. However, it's held in different verbiage in different places. It doesn't look the same, and it's nested at a deep level. There's certain things that have to happen. We recognize patterns. We don't quite know what to do with them. That is what I have pursued. I have studied myth and religion from antiquity, whatever I can get my hands on. My shelves are full of everything from the Quran to Greek myth to the Bible to Chinese works. I've got the entire Mahabharata over there. Nothing's off limits. I'm finding a pattern, a template that they all share. That's what I'm after. If that is something that sounds interesting to you, welcome to the video. My name is Dan Paulson. Let's go ahead and get started. All right. The first thing we do here, from BibleStudy.org, I find that 3 appears 467 times in the Bible and that 7 appears 463 times. Yeah, BibleStudy.org, you can just go there and look at that. They will also offer up explanations or definitions as to what these mean. I trust them to count, but they're trying to claim these have some sort of supernatural agency. So when it comes to the definition, I trust them to count. That's what I trust them to do. The 3s and the 7s are there for something different. They're not there to express the divinity of something supernatural or whatever. They are patterned in there for something different. There is a template sequence that they are following, and these represent starting points. Let's take a look at a couple things. Okay, I'm not going to go through a lot of examples, just a few, but this is what I'm talking about. Here we are in Job. It starts right off. There was once a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job. That man was blameless and upright, one who feared God and turned away from evil. There were born to him 7 sons and 3 daughters. He had 7,000 sheep and 3,000 camels. Okay, so those numbers are there. Joshua, this is the Jericho story. This is a little bit longer, but let me read this. Now Jericho was shut up inside and out because of the Israelites. No one came out and no one went in. The Lord said to Joshua, "See, I have handed Jericho over to you, along with its kings and soldiers. You shall march around the city, all the warriors circling the city once. Thus you shall do for 6 days, 4 with 7 priests bearing 7 trumpets of rams' horns before the ark. On the 7th day you shall march around the city 7 times, the priests blowing the trumpets. When they make a long blast with the ram's horn, as soon as you hear the sound of the trumpet, then all of the people shall shout with a great shout, and the wall of the city will fall down flat, and all of the people shall charge straight ahead." So Joshua son of Nun summoned the priests and said to them, "Take up the Ark of the Covenant, and have 7 priests carry 7 trumpets of ram's horns in front of the Ark to the Lord." So to the people he said, "Go forth and march around the city, have the armed men pass on before the Ark of the Lord." As Joshua had commanded the people, the 7 priests carried the 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the Lord, went forward, blowing the trumpets with the Ark of the Covenant. Okay, I don't have to keep going on. You see what's happening here. They're just using 7 and nothing else, and you wonder, what's going on? If I put 3 over here, I'm going to do a search. I get 2 results right there. That's just in Job. There's going to be a lot more. These are just the 2 examples I picked. The 7, what happens if I search for how many there, just right here in this one story? So there's 2 in Job, 16. So there's 14 of them just in the beginning of the Jericho story in Joshua. So the question is, does that look weird to you? It does to me. Why are there so many of the same numbers, and there's a lot of numbers that you don't see in there. You just see pattern numbers. So where did that come from? Do you want to see where it originated? I'll show you. This is where it first starts. Okay, what I just popped up here is the beginning of Genesis. There are 2 creation stories in there. I call them a 7-day creation, and then there's a 5 rivers and where Adam and Eve appear naked, unashamed. The at the end of the 7-day creation story, 7 is right there, isn't it? What do we see down here? If I get down to, here we are. And on the 7th day, God finished the work that he had done, and he rested on the 7th day from all the work that he had done. So God blessed the 7th day and hallowed it, because on it God rested from all the work that he had done in creation. Doesn't that sound cumbersome? It does to me, but how many times was 7 repeated right there? 3 times. 7 and 3 start right here, and the template sequence starts right here. Okay, if you follow my channel, you're already on board with all of this anyway. This is just to try and help other people maybe get on board with it. It's all verbal. If they've got puzzles and clues going around, how do they get them? Their world is not like ours. There's no paper products. People don't read and write. They're just passing these around verbally. If you need something in the story as clues, you have to put them in the story. And you do it by repeating sequences, and they continue to do that. Okay, what is that 3 and 7 mean? Why is it so important? This is where I deviate from other people. This is where I take that template that I've seen, the sequential template, and I assumed at one point in time that it was based on the life of a human sequence and how we self-heal. And I began working at all of the material with that in mind until gradually learning that it all does fit exactly that way. So 3 and 7 is going to be an indicator of a time in our life. It's a very long and time-consuming story as to how I got to the template. So let's just say that I've interpreted from the material, looked at all of these things habitually, repeatedly, and seeing how they play out in the life of a human. From the time you're born with certain qualities, whatnot. Let's just take a look at the template and see what is there. This is psychological. They are teaching us something at a deep level. Okay, this is a sequence about us. When I read creation, it's not about the creation of the world, it's about the creation of myself. However, it is held in verbiage that makes it sound like it's the creation of the world for most people, when in all reality, if we interpret it, we will find out that it is about us. First step there, born from universal energy. We exist within the framework of natural laws. This is really our emergence from, this is our birth. We emerge. Then they're going to teach us that everything in the cosmos moves in cycles and that everything works due to cause and effect. We've got certain fixed qualities at birth. That's God naming things. We show up with certain things that we don't have any control over. We then grow till we're self-aware. We're naming our own things. We're developing enough as infants to now understand enough to be able to interact with people. We've gone from no memory to now I have enough memory and interactive capacity to laugh and goof around and go do things on my own. I'm not as helpless, but I'm a happy kid. 7 right there, that is when we are, this represents Adam and Eve naked and unashamed. This, I would interpret this as my conscious and my subconscious without anything. I have not accumulated anything yet. That's why I am naked. I am unashamed. I don't have any fears, any judgments in life. Naked, unashamed in the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden is a mental space. So right here, stage number 7, step 7 is where we begin life. Now, as each one of those pattern steps are going to begin, where do you need to start if it's on a template? If it's starting out where you're empty in life and there's devoid of things, or you're seeking that devoid, you're trying to wipe things out. In the case of destroying a city, that represents I'm destroying myself. The 7s, I'm destroying it with, I want to get back to this point back here. And then as it repeats things in there, it's going to be creating more analogs for use later on. And that's exactly what they're doing in the Bible. And then, of course, if we keep going on to down the list, the red one there, 8, that would actually be first sin, where first sin happens. That's where judged, unchecked life experiences begin right there. We become hidden. They become hidden deeply as we begin to lose our inner joy. This is just us going off into life and starting to have the life experiences that we begin to accumulate. Our early self emerges, cyclical pain emerges. We become divided, and early self takes charge. That's the Cain and Abel story. Attachment to the physical is complete. We are living off. We are bound to work the soil. That would mean living our physical life, not mentally aware that we're just consciously deciding what we like and don't like, and we become products of that. And we need to try and extract ourselves from that. It's causing our life experiences to hurt. We get down to 14, life has become out of sorts. This is where the flood needs to happen. We are frazzled by our development and not knowing how to fit in with our world. We are getting ready to emerge from our physical beginnings. This is for the people that are going to go on the journey. You're the one that is going to turn inward. And that's what this sequence is right here. This is, everybody goes through this sequence, step 1 through 14. What happens next when Noah is called is when the beginning of the monomyths happen. We take those two creation stories, we line them side by side. You can see that the first one was added in. And then where Archbishop Langton of Canterbury tried to put chapter breaks in, tried to hide that by putting the chapter break between day 6 and day 7, when actually there's a 1 through 7 days and a creation up to where you are, man and woman is created just before first sin. Both of those two are separate creation stories. And what happens when we get to Noah? Do you see that he's called twice, that there's 2 times he's told to load different things in the boat? One of them he's told to bring 2 of everything. That would align with the 5 rivers, the second one. The other one he's told to bring 7 pairs of everything, which would align with the first one. So they're adding in, they want this structure in place. They're not trying to hide the structure. They're very purposefully building a story to contain the structure, and they are keeping the story moving along very artfully. Those numbers are continually sequencing, but they mean a mental space. All right, that structure we just observed, the 1 through 14, that is creation. That is our creation to the time that we want to, that we decide we've had it. Again, everybody goes through that. However, that only occurs once. You get to Judaism, there's one creation story. Beyond that is when the monomyths pick up. And that is when the next template begins rolling. Here is what we have. So these are the step sequences that I have put in. I will tell you that this is not Joseph Campbell's material here. This is what I see as a human life template sequence, okay? We're not going to be meeting up with a goddess in my material. In fact, the truth is, each one of these steps is mentally interactive if you interpret it to where it belongs. You put it back on the human life template, it is mentally interactive. It tells you how you came about, how you could have been different, and how to manage changing your memories and your perceptions to change the way you feel and to change your life experience. And that works the same for every person. There's going to be a selected person, that is true. There's cause and effect, and cycles of pain are going to be part of the story. These are traveling word of mouth. They come alone. You get a story. If you don't have cause and effect and cycles of pain up front, then you don't know what to do. It comes with those instructions. It is time to begin the inward journey to your happy beginnings. You're not going to want to. That's we want to get back to 7 or 3 or whatever. There's a variety of things. We're going to need the awareness of what to do in the mind first. We have to know how to work this stuff and how to go through the template. We're going to struggle to leave the past. That's going to be a part of the story. You're going to see a difficulty. The past is coming after you. Pharaoh chases you, or Pharaoh tells you to get out of here. In cases like that, or trying to sail away from an island where you're trying to be kept, in Greek myth or something like that. All of those represent the idea that you're having a hard time leaving the past behind. This is where we live. It's where we come from. It is our habits. It is all of the things. When we're trying to improve and change, it's hard work. We're habituated into a way of being. We're trying to work around that or change that. We have to turn inward to the mind. That would be the crossing of the threshold. Then we're going to be in there working with the higher self and the conscious mind to interact with the memories and the emotions to begin a process of healing. Face and work with fears till they no longer share only with others that are, okay, so I don't need to keep going on about that one, but this is the template that we are going to be working with. Primarily, that's the one that all these stories are built off of. The first one establishes that point to begin with, that happy point when we're young. Later on, in each of the stories, it's going to establish that too. You're starting out at a 7 or at a 3 or something like that. Okay, if we're to look at the Job story again, what did it start with? Job was chosen, first of all. He was upright. He was righteous. So there's a calling right there. You see that happening. There's a unique individual. Was somebody else called? Nope, it was Job. It's right in your face. There's a calling. Okay, and what does he have to begin with? 3 daughters and 7 sons. 3 and 7, daughter, son, male, female. They use a mental hierarchy where the consciousness is the male and the inner self is the female. And they split us up. We go through iterations in life. So all of the characters in the stories are us. We are Abram, we are Sarai. We are Abraham, we are Sarah. It's going to continue on that way as long as we have a consciousness and an inner self right there. So in this case, if we went back to that same point in time, we had Adam and Eve. That's our conscious and our subconscious, naked and unashamed. We were not covered with anything. In the Garden of Eden, we were at a happy place. Right here, we're trying to carry that same pattern. We are carrying the same pattern, but it has to sound different. It cannot sound the same. How do you do it? While making sure that all of the elements still line up, it can still be encoded. Somebody can look at that knows and goes, okay, daughters, that's the female. Sons, that's the male. 7, 3, that's the pure self. I see, I got it. They're hooked into it right there. Job is chosen, there I am. They get bigger, they're deeper. You have to consider that they did these for lifetimes. It was their media. They did them all day long for weeks, months, years, lifetimes, for generations and generations. They're thick. Watch this. It's an example of how they're building analogs. Right here we have, as they're talking about Sodom and Gomorrah, this is further down, you see that there's a repeat of something here. Suppose there are 50 righteous within the city. Will you then sweep away the place and not forgive it for the 50 righteous who are in it? Far be it from you to do such a thing, to slay the righteous with the wicked, so that the righteous fare from the wicked. Anyway, it goes on. I don't need to read the whole thing, but to me it sounds like it's just an inordinate amount of repeating righteous over again. Then you look at it and go, righteous 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. Bingo. They just turned righteous into that same point. And there's other things going on in here that gets thicker, but right there you have it. Righteousness is also that early point. Okay, I guess that's it for this video. I just wanted to talk about the 3s and 7s, and it's a lot thicker than 3s and 7s. They're continuing to build larger and larger pools of, there's a lot of analogous terms that they're creating in numbers. Jewish work uses a lot of numbers, dates. You see a lot of that up front. It's not going to just stay 3 and 7s all the time. That would become too obvious. It is now. When you realize that it's not just the 3 and 7, but now they're taking other numbers, the 50 repeating with righteous, turned 7 times, the 40s, the 30s, the 20s, that instantly all of those become that same point right there. They just created a big pile of analogs that mean the same thing. Now we can have dates, different amounts of things, different age that you are when you get married. All of those. We're going to see 3s, 7s, 12s, 40s, things that are just very common. But as it spreads out, you'll look and see that those 3s, 7s, 40s, 12s are connected with other numbers that are going on and doing the same thing. It's getting deeper. It just gets farther beyond us. And we don't memorize them, and we don't look at them long enough to realize it. We don't have them memorized. You see, what I'm finding here is because I'm using the computer to see the numbers. I didn't know that beforehand. It was just kind of an accidental, you're playing with it. You keep fumbling with it, trying to find out why those patterns are there. We see those patterns, don't we? That's my take on what they're there for. I see them repeating in a self-healing sequence that is being repeated not just in Jewish work, not just there. It's all over. But they all have their own unique ways of doing it. And the way that you view that, finally it comes online, is you understand that it's all conceptual. That if you're seeing a pattern, something happening, that you realize, that this is a cycle of behavior. This is pain, something that's happening over and over again, or crossing a threshold, going through a river, or going through clashing rocks, or going through the Red Sea to avoid place, to all of those become very consistent elements. You don't look at them differently anymore. You realize that they're crossing through something, and that where they're going to has adventures that are going to begin that are the same sort of, we have to go defeat something or resolve something sort of issues. When you see them that way, you begin to see that they are the same. That it is the core template that is actually that they're all sharing. But the stories on the outside, they're very diverse, outward-looking stories. I have heard people tell me, that the whole correlation has been debunked and all of that. And honestly, if you can see it, you can see that it's there. If you can't, you can't. It's apparently in the material that not many people are going to figure it out or see it. That's where, part of that being born, it's somehow something brain types. I believe it must be what it is, some sort of brain type. At any rate, okay, I'm just blabbering on now. I see the templates, I see the pattern, and in describing that, I hope it shows a little bit of what I believe is going on. It's still hard to see it. People have to kind of look at it and learn it for themselves. It is very old. I look at it still and go, phew, this is vague. What are the animals and things you're bringing with you as well? What do we bring with us when we're starting off? We have qualities. We have characteristics. In the beginning, we had, young, beautiful daughters that got corrupted by the sons of God. What? That's our early qualities, our innocence that is lost. And that's what we have here. We're starting out with fresh innocence. They're just not calling it beautiful daughters. It's like clean animals, clean offspring, clean something that you're bringing with you. Remember, back to my claim of the second Noah calling, where the 7 clean animals are told to be brought along. They're making sure that from the first side of the story to the flood, that on the other side, those 7s and all of those numbers are still there. And then we're going to find that's where the 40 gets developed too. It's not just the 40 days till the time that it takes for this internal cleaning to take place. But in a couple of places, it's, in 7 days, I will have it rain for 40 nights. In 7 days, I had it rain for. So the 7 is transitioning to the 40 right there. Those little puzzles are all over in here. Look for them. The terms are not real. All the words they're using mean something different. They're analogous. If you interpret every bit of it, treat every bit of it like it's a code and do that with it, that's what you have to do to unlock it. All right. Hope this video was fun and interesting and shows why the 3s and 7s are there. It is still not easy to see. I realize that. It's thick. You have to kind of be of a mind that is figuring this out. These stories play out up here completely. It's a playing field. It's your movie theater right there. And all of those pieces and all the things going on are various experiences, elements, fights, internal struggles. Oh, I should. No, I shouldn't. Later on, you finally resolve it. Now you're not this person anymore. You're this person. You've now gotten rid of, the old bad, and you're remarried. You've got something new. You've reconnected. All of these are playing out up here in a theater of mind. Take care. See you in the next video.